Hi, my name is RJ Ledesma. I wear many hats, so I wish I had just as many heads. One of the things which I do is I'm actually a professional TV and events host. Among the TV shows that I host, one of them is called Bright Ideas. It comes out on Bloomberg and One News Philippines, and in that show I talk to different startup companies. And I also host a show called Philippine Realty TV on CNN Philippines. Aside from that one, I am a serial entrepreneur. I've co-founded 3 companies. One of them is called Enter.ph. It's a consultancy firm that helps foreign businesses offshore or outsource their businesses to the Philippines. The other one is Easy Franchise. It's a digital platform that connects franchisors, people who own franchise companies, to potential franchisees, Filipino franchisees, both based here in the Philippines or overseas. And last but not the least, and what I would like to talk about here right now, is this Mercato Centrale. You might know Mercato Centrale as a weekend food market that brings together a lot of different vendors. That's right, we are a weekend food market. But more than that, if you see the bigger picture of my business, we are really a small food business incubator. We provide sort of like an ecosystem to help small food businesses grow and achieve their full potential. So right now, I really like to talk more about, the entrepreneurship space and what is our way forward as we look at COVID-19. Now, among the many things which I do is that I am a speaker on entrepreneurship. I'm a mentor and a speaker in entrepreneurship. And what I often share to people is my entrepreneurship philosophy or mindset. And I tell people that, the basic philosophy is that your irritation should become your inspiration in creating an idea. Or from your pain points, if you're experiencing a pain point, you can turn that pain point into a solution, which if you get people to pay you for that one, that's good business. And if you can make the business sustainable, scalable, then that is probably a good business to have. And what we also say in relation to that one is that disruption in business is the new normal. So whatever business you might have thought of in the past, it was an old business model, for example, taxis, hotels, all these businesses are being disrupted by startups. So we often say in this new entrepreneurship world that aside from solving pain points or turning your irritation into inspiration for doing business, that on the flip side, disruption is the new normal. All your businesses will be disrupted, whether it is a technological disruption or whether it is a social change that occurs. Disruption is the new normal for business. Now, what's happened to us in this case of COVID-19 was, yes, disruption. Our businesses were disrupted by a black swan event, a once in a million event like COVID-19. But having said that, you still apply the same sort of mentality that, it's a disruption. And what happens when your business is disrupted? Again, at the start, especially at the start of this COVID crisis, you feel a bit helpless, especially as a businessman, because everything was closed down. If you had a physical business, a brick and mortar business, you didn't know what to do. You weren't sure what to do next. So I often tell people that, at the start, I did feel helpless at the start of this crisis, but all of a sudden, you start wearing your entrepreneurial hat or your entrepreneurial mindset, and you often ask yourself, okay, what is the pain point that I'm trying to solve? What are the pain points people are experiencing? And how do I pivot my business? How do I change my business model because of this disruption? So, I think for many entrepreneurs and in the startup world, they're not purely looking at it from the perspective of, okay, what's wrong? They're saying, okay, this will be the new normal, and we've got to disrupt our own businesses, find the pain points we're experiencing right now, and turn that into an opportunity. So, what did I see coming from this crisis? The first thing that I saw was that, okay, you have to take a look again back at what the brand that you had was all about. And for me, the brand which we had for this business was all about incubation. And I realized that if my business was about incubation of new food concepts, then there's 2 types of incubation. You can do an incubation which is physical, brick and mortar, where people go to your place, or you could turn that incubation into a platform, meaning a digital platform where people get the same experience, or they still get to try your products, but instead of going into a physical setup, it now becomes a digital setup. So for many of us as entrepreneurs, how it affected many of us is that although it was a challenge, what we were experiencing, what we were taught to do we're taught to fall back on our entrepreneurial training and say, okay, how do we pivot? How do we make this pain point into an opportunity? And like for myself, my market was closed, but all of a sudden I could turn this into a new opportunity for me, which was delivery. And all of a sudden, there are different business models which are emerging as a result of this crisis. We're saying, okay, if you look at the new normal now, what are the different opportunities that you can create? If, for example, physical distancing or social distancing is still in place, moving forward, let's say there's no new vaccine and people still don't want to go out, then you've got to be able to bring that experience of eating Mercato to their homes. Maybe at first you think of physical delivery of the products from your vendors, but all of a sudden there are new concepts which emerge, like cloud or dark kitchens, where you can accumulate your vendors into one area where they can dispatch food from one area and deliver it closest to your clients. So all of a sudden, that's what changes things actually for me. We constantly pivot and think of newer things. That's the challenge to my sector, but at the same time, it's that your thinking is resilient and agile enough to adjust to the situation. Now, one of the shortcomings which many of us saw right now was the idea of the digital transformation of our businesses, because we often put that in the back burner. But there was a joke that was going around during the ECQ, and the joke was that, what has caused the digital transformation of your business? Who was the change leader? Was it the CEO? Was it the chief information officer, or was it COVID-19? And apparently COVID-19 is making us change all of our business models. So I'm thinking really right now that moving forward, all of us will have to create a digital online model for the business where everything is automated, everything becomes seamless. And that begins, especially for a business like mine, it begins from, let's say, from putting your menu, doing order taking, taking cashless payments, having a logistics system, all online. And that's very important for us. And aside from that one, because sometimes there's a lack of interaction, of experiencing your products, especially something like food, where it's an experiential product. It's not just a product which you get delivered to you, but they need to understand the story behind your food. They have to appreciate the special ingredients behind your food, because you don't just buy food. You buy what make you also want to know what makes the food good. And you have to create now video content for your food as well. So it's a whole thing where you were able to use a digital platform right now to not only tell the story, which is more like the emotional part, the experiential part, and also to make the customer experience seamless online. And I think that's what's going to be happening moving forward from this one, that we're already realizing the importance of creating a stronger experiential digital format for our clients, where you're digitally transformed from start to end, where everything there's a complete way of thinking that way. The next one is, I think that you might have to think of you always think about innovation in this industry, but now when you think about innovation, sometimes you now might have to think digital first when it comes to this industry. Meaning many people, they would promote things brick and mortar, or they would use connections or word of mouth to grow their business. But maybe this time around, you can think of going digital first, developing a stronger target marketing online. I work with a performance marketing agency, and basically how we grew our business, which was our other business, which is called EnterPH, to attract foreign clients to come over here to the Philippines, was that it was a digital first strategy, digital innovation first strategy. We never sent out flyers. We never used word of mouth. But basically, we used a combination of Google Ads. We used a combination of Facebook, Instagram, and many things to attract our target market from abroad to come over here. Maybe that might be the new way that we've got to think of innovation in terms of creating businesses. That because they're no longer brick and mortar, we have to be able to leverage the power of social media, of doing great filters, of doing artificial intelligence, machine learning, to be able to grow our businesses much better. The other thing that we also see emerging for the business for me is because much of the supply chain was disrupted. That's what I saw. Vegetables weren't getting to the consumers, and that became a big thing. So what I'm thinking is going to be happening right now is that you'll have to shorten the supply chain. So people might be developing more urban farms, or there might be an opportunity right now to connect closer the farmers together with the end consumer, and you lessen more of the middleman. And I think there's going to be more of an opportunity for people. They're realizing right now that number one, agriculture is very important, and they've got to develop more tech for agriculture, and also the supply chain of getting things directly to the consumer is going to become a bigger thing as well. And also, what I see becoming bigger is that people will develop more of what we call hyperlocal marketing. That people will have to develop more community-based marketing. If the virus continues onwards, people don't want to travel far and they want things closer and closer to where they are. So we'll have to develop more community centers. And so there are businesses which will emerge, which will require hyperlocal marketing or hyperlocal convenience stores. So I think there'll be a sprouting of these smaller community stores as a result. And I think that because if the crisis doesn't, if the pandemic or the vaccine doesn't come out soon, there are two vulnerable sectors, which is basically our senior citizen market, and of course our 0 to 18 market or 0 to 20 market. What will be emerging right now is how can we best serve the senior citizen market in terms of delivery, in terms of what we can do for them online to create services for them. Also, and the same thing at the other end is what can we do also for the youth? How do we serve them? And that means that because for both sectors they have to be served specifically, and there's a no-touch thing. We'll have to develop more ways to bring education and interaction and health services on an online basis. Tutorials, education, customized education, customized health, or telemedicine will have to be vastly improved, and even that they'll have the better delivery services, community services that they can do online for the senior citizens to deliver their products to them. So for us who are basically entrepreneurs, yes, there are many challenges that have come out of this one, but it's always having to wear that entrepreneurial mindset, because we can either choose to feel helpless about a situation, or we can either say, let's control what we can. Let's see how in this situation, how can we turn our helplessness into, just perceive it as a pain point, and what can we do to fix it up? Because for us, it's very important to, that's how basically we see things in every crisis. There's an opportunity, and that, what we're trying to do is just solve people's problems, and hopefully by solving people's problems, it's part of nation building and community building at the same time.